Hello everybody, welcome to Discussing Tabletop. It is of course November 16th, 2019. I believe this is episode 131. Dang, we're chugging through it. We're chugging through our second 100. We'll eventually get it done. So once again, of course, joining me for our usual kind of things is Joe. How's your week been going, Joe?
It's been a week.
It's been a little bit of a week for me, but it hasn't been the worst. It's been interesting. That's always what I like to say. Is it good? Is it bad? It's interesting, at least.
Yeah.
Well, we have an interesting docket of topics to kind of dive in for you today. We're going to first talk about the mystery booster, which I don't know, if other than being at the conventions, if there is an addition to it, because they don't talk about it, but we'll talk about that. Then I do want to talk about the Magic novels as they're doing it now with War of the Spark Forsaken. Just because there's something going on that should be talked about just because of the problems it's creating and how it's a bad book. And, that's a bad direction for things for Magic. So I want to talk about that. Then Wizards of the Coast for D&D has released 2 little adventures for Extra Life. One that seems a little bit more... I almost feel like it's a little more kid-centric, and then
It's definitely kid-centric. It's not a little bit, it's kid-centric. I mean, it's the book is also a coloring book.
Okay, yeah, so it's kid-centric. And then, of course, another adventure. Both of them came out kind of together this week with Extra Life donations associated with it. Then Starfinder has the Character Operations Manual, introducing a whole bunch of new stuff. And then, of course, the last one is I wanted to talk about for V5, Vampire the Masquerade 5th Edition, Fall of London, which is a book that Modifius is putting out. Before we go into our regular segments. Let's start...
So, are you saying London's falling?
Sure. Let's start with the mystery booster, because this is an interesting thing that they were hinted at as being something at the conventions. The problem is they're showing 2 images here. I'm showing off the convention edition booster, but they have another one that says the same thing, but it doesn't have the convention edition.
Yeah, it just says Magic. It actually says Magic the Gathering mystery booster, ages 13 plus. So it has just their logo on it and no convention edition listed. So that's when I'm like, are they going to sell these too? Because they don't mention anything about that or price or anything.
Mm-hmm. Now, what we know about it is it's 1,694 reprints plus 121 copies of something new and surprising, they said. What that is...
They said you can have an 8-person draft and no one get the same card.
Yep. There are 2 versions of the Mystery Booster, the Convention Edition, and then there is I believe WPN means, released to the public. It's going to be out March 13th, 2030.
Oh, that's probably why they haven't mentioned the price. So, yeah, really, that would...
Oh, it's Wizards Play Network.
Okay, I don't know what that is, but sure.
Retail locations, Wizards Play Network retail locations, the public retail locations that offer Wizards.
Okay.
So it's
any place that sells Magic cards.
Yes. Now, granted, we're going to probably be able to get maybe some of these because PAX Unplugged is going to have them.
Right, but it might be only if you do one of their drafts.
That's true. Each convention, there's a convention-exclusive mystery booster contains 15 cards, 14 from the Gigantic Awesome Mansic, and 1 from Something New and Surprising group. Those are called... they're R&D playtest cards are the Surprising group. So that's going to be kind of introducing. So it's it's an interesting there's a lot to unpack with this, I think. And that's the kind of thing. First off, it's a shit ton of cards.
Yeah.
I didn't know that each sheet of Magic cards has 121 possible cards on it. I didn't know that. That's one of those little facts that and apparently the reason why it's the number it is because you can divide it by 121. And that's why there's 121 of the R&D type cards, too.
Okay.
Because 16,994 divides by that. It's like one of those weird little tricks that you don't even think about, but, oh, wow.
Very interesting.
Yeah.
The more you know.
The more you know. Do. I'm going to do some quick math. Because
I think this is an interesting idea.
14. Okay, so it divides by 14. Which is the number of cards in a booster box. Or booster pack.
Yeah, each of the 14 booster slots.
Yeah.
Well,
that's what it is since there's 121 on a sheet. 14, which means that effectively what they're saying is every card in a pack will be a different card from a different sheet. That's the trick of it. You know, that's really kind of an interesting thing about it. The Mystery Booster have their original set symbols and numbering with a little symbol at the bottom corner, like a little Planeswalker symbol in the bottom, and that's the only way you can really tell it apart is using that little symbol. Otherwise, it looks like the original.
Oh, yeah, I see it. Mm-hmm. You know what? I highly doubt it, but I wonder, will they have it unglued?
I don't know, because they do give the card list is the thing.
Yeah, I'm just saying, that would be really kind of funny, but I highly doubt it.
I mean, it is an insane card list, just to kind of... I can't even, think of looking through it.
Pages of cards, so yeah.
Because they're not including the 121 special ones, of course, but, still. This is an interesting thing, because this is granted, this is probably a drop in the bucket of the number of total Magic cards, but something like this means that they could probably throw some reprints out there for some things that...
You haven't seen in a long time.
Or also that, would maybe help a little bit in some of the formats. Granted, I don't know in this version of it how useful it is. It's kind of like the weird catch-22 of how many of these are they producing? I can see Ashnod's Ultra in here, because I'm just on the first page. I'm not going through any of the other pages. Ashnod's Ultra, I like, but I know it's a pretty expensive card as it is right now. So, would this lower the price of it? I don't know.
Right.
There's a lot about it that's...
Well, it may and may not, because, it's a reprint. The original might still hold its value.
Well, that's that weird thing about Magic, is that when you get those reprints, even the originals still lose value to a little bit, because usually it's... If a Magic card retains its value, it's because it's useful in formats. Yeah. It's a good combo card. It's a very interesting thing that card values rise and lower as they're useful for, in Standard. Things in Standard, they jump up really high very quickly. Granted, as they leave Standard, the prices drop down a lot. If they're still good in things like Modern, Legacy, Vintage, Commander, they will retain a price, depending on how good they are and how much that, So it's an interesting thing that I think, age does play a role a lot of times in Magic cards, but, only up to Legends, I think. After that, it's gotta be, even in, Dark cards, you could buy a bunch of the commons and uncommons for dirt cheap if you're looking on them individually. It's that interesting thing that, I think when we were around and the Magic market tanked, because I remember when the market tanked, everything past Dark went to crap price. I didn't have the money at the time to scoop up a bunch of stuff, but that would have been wonderful, but no. And now it's become based on use. So, and availability. How much people love it and how available it is. So that's
Black Lotus.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's banned and everything. So now it's just that's because it's as I said, anything before Legends usually retains its price pretty well because it's just really awful to find. Because Dark's
let's see. I just looked it up. There, there's only 1,100 Black Lotuses left.
1,100. Wow. I wonder how many. Well, 1,100 alpha were printed.
Well, okay. Oh, yeah, alpha deck cards were printed. I'm sorry.
But still,
so that's only 1,100 of the original ones. That's why they retain a high value.
Yeah,
and how many of those are still actually in good shape?
Yeah, that's the huge thing about it. You know, we just don't know how many of those are.
Like, oh god, it was one that was rated in 9.5 gem mint condition that went for $88,000 on eBay.
Yeah, no, it's kind of ridiculous. I like, oh god. So, you know, like, I went on Alpha. I went on like the TCG player, and they have none in stock, you know, at all. But they list what their estimation for just a general price is: 28,000.
Yeah, I just found another story about a guy opens old Magic deck, pack, and he found a Black Lotus card worth 27,000.
Yeah, no. The fact is, like, well, again, that's kind of getting a little away. You know, we have the fact that older stuff. I'm like, there is so much here. It is hard to unpack that what some of the things might be and how old are some things. Like, with the number of cards, it's like, it's really hard to figure out what's there. And I guess that's one of those things. It's that there's so many cards to the set. The likelihood of, like, something being really major there is kind of low, I guess. But it's also one of those things that it's an interesting idea, but also for me, it's one of those things that I look at and I say, like, I will never worry about collecting that. It is an abomination of something to try to collect as a collector. For fun, for like doing like a little mystery draft, or for maybe getting a couple of cards from older that might be good for your decks, great. But that's about it.
Yeah. I think it's interesting. It might be interesting with a draft, you know, like they're doing at the convention.
Yeah.
You have a bunch of people who, you know, have been playing for a long time, and like, hey, let's do a random draft. We get to, you know, play with old and new older and newer cards. It's kind of cool.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't know, and I'd be interested if they do sell them, how much they'll go for. That'll be the kind of thing. And I guess what they've told us, because it's like the convention ones are going to have the special cards. You know, those 121 playtest cards. And I guess I feel like probably the regularly sold ones probably won't have those. Which is, right. I guess it's fine. I don't mind. You know, it's like you can go to a specific convention and you can, you know, participate in a draft and get some of these, like, maybe special playtest cards where you can actually, like, talk to them about what you think about these cards. And I guess that's the assumption, is that you're going to be there discussing with them. But the mystery booster is very interesting. I don't think it's a bad idea. I don't know if it's like it's this weird idea for them. I think is the easiest way to describe it. The weird idea for Magic, the mystery booster.
Yeah, but I think it's interesting. It's worth a look.
Yeah, I'll agree. Definitely worth a look. Oh, and they do say whatever set is in the Mooster Booster, that set, it's legal in whatever format that set is legal in. So if you pull something from Mirrodin, it's legal in Modern. Well, if you pull something in, like, from Tempest, of course it's going to be legal only in Legacy and Vintage. But that's right. So they do say mystery booster stuff are legal. Or, like, you know, oh, hey, it's legal in Commander. Great. Commander's pretty popular. Or whatever the hell their new version of crap they're trying to put out is. I don't know.
Right, but yeah, I mean that makes sense. I mean, it's not like you're going to pull, and that's good because you don't want to get a bunch of cards. But they're not actually legal to play. Like, what was it, Portal?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we had Portal. This is a weird one. It was the beginners set, like really truly beginner set.
It was a teaching set.
Yeah. And then there was the Portal.
These aren't legal to play in.
And the thing is, there was a Portal 2 and then a Portal 3, and Portal 3 was vastly different because Portal 3 was kind of Legends of the Five Rings meets Magic. Oh, I found some stuff on like some of the playtest cards, where like they say it's got varying levels of seriousness because they have like 2 examples here. Noxious Bayou, it's a land that taps for green or black and you get a poison counter. And then Bear with Sets Mechanic. It's a vigilance and aggressive. During your turn, if there's an additional combat phase after the first, only creatures with aggressive may attack during it. What? Bear with Sets Mechanic. I like it.
Okay.
This bear, it has the Sets Mechanic.
Oh, God.
Yeah, and playtest cards are not legal, they're saying. Yep. Man. So that'll be interesting. I do, actually, we can see if we can maybe get a chance. Oh my god. They gave more examples. Oh god. Like, banding sliver.
Ooh.
Banding. Oh boy.
Yeah, that's something we haven't seen in a long time. That was an interesting mechanic that went along the wayside.
Or how about, there's a basic land, Cloud. It's a cloud. It's a basic land. I mean, they, like, list a bunch of...
For what mana?
It taps to add C.
So, blue?
No, that's you, normally, when they use letters. You got cloud mana.
Oh.
Is it colorless? Is it something else?
Colorless, probably.
Maybe.
Cloud mana.
Yeah. So if you're trying to choose a basic land, you may choose Cloud. Something refers to each basic land. It includes Cloud.
No, but banding, I remember having a banding soldier deck.
Wow. Yeah.
That thing actually kicks some butt.
Well, it can. They do just list a bunch of the things here that they have in the playtest, and some of them are just... They are... interesting.
Yes.
It's, I definitely... We'll see if we can get a hold of some of these packs unplugged. I really just want to see some of these playtest ones, because they're just weird. And just be like... I'm gonna say, like, in our gaming group, if you can play Unglued, we can play with some of these things. I'll just keep it like a sideboard.
Speaking of which, is only a little over 2 weeks away.
I know. It's coming up. It's coming up soon. We have 2 weeks of shows, and then it's going to be it. So, coming up soon.
Yeah.
Now, speaking of Magic, there is something else to talk about Magic-related. Unfortunately.
This is all you, because I don't read the books.
Now, this is one that I'm going to talk about a little bit, because unfortunately, I haven't read this one. I haven't had a chance to read it. The last bit of Magic the Gathering lore stuff that I wrote. I read some of the old books back in the day when the novels originally came out. But I never kept up with them completely. I think the last full series I read about was... I read the Prophecy book for Magic. And then I was reading the Magic stories as they were coming out on the website. That they were doing like these little short stories that added together to make like maybe like a chapter of a book or something. Hi, Cat. Yes, you're here. Welcome. I'm going to say... Those Magic stories were really great. There was some really good writing there. They got like good writers. They got some good stories. This is not that. So, first off, from what we've learned, Greg Weisman is he's worked on stuff, but he's worked on more television and a couple of novels. The Greg Weisman. But he's more of a television kind of guy.
Right.
He's not really known for his novels. The book came out pretty quick, so probably didn't have a lot of time to work on it. And the book is awful. All the reviews that you can find out there on it are bad. Now, granted, because I haven't read it, I don't want to review it. I want to go over some information that I agree with, that is just some basic information about plot that's been shared about it. One thing, the main characters, they're people going after various people that, it's like, Kaya, the Ghost Planeswalker, going after Lana Vess. Okay, no relation to her, so there's going to be no emotional development on either side of the lane there. I think, Raul Zarek going after the one from... Okay, I'm not going to remember them all. I'm bad about them. But they took characters that have nothing to do with the people being hunted down and have them hunting them down. Okay. Now, I can see you making a great story about that. Still, with, people that are basically forced because of the situation to go after these people that they don't have a relationship to, and maybe developing through the hunt some kind of connection to them, rather than using the characters that obviously have connections to these characters and having them hunt them down because reasons. But raisins. But there is none of that development. There's none character development. Apparently there's a bunch of really bad lines. If you look up
the small excerpt I read, it read like a very bad romance novel.
It's not even that. It's very poorly written too. There's I saw.
I said, a very bad romance novel.
There's some lines where you could get it in 5 words. Instead, the writer comes up with 2 sentences of 10 words each that are reiterating the same thing in a row. Also, I've seen excerpts where the writer has someone respond to the narrator.
Excuse me.
Yeah, they respond to the narrator. What?
You caught me breaking the fourth wall.
Yeah. There's a couple other things, one of the things is it's always been said that planeswalkers can only take themselves and non-organic stuff with them in between planes. They come up with this weird, nonchalant excuse why Kaya, because she can kind of go ghosty, can take one living thing with her. And they just say it. So it's here's a revelation. Here you go. Bye. And the other thing is there's a controversy about this book because they basically took Chandra... Oh god, my one monitor is being weird.
Uh-oh.
It says it's on, but I'm losing. Did I knock in the back or something?
I don't know.
I'm gonna have to check it after this, but we'll try to keep going. This means I might not have to edit. I might be able to edit some things for a second because it's the second monitor and I had stuff over there. It came back after a second.
Yay!
I don't know what's going on. I hope.
Rejoice.
But effectively, if you're not aware of it, and Joe again wasn't aware of it because I am one that one of the things I do like doing occasionally is going through all the cards in a set and reading all the little quotes on it because it gives you some of the story. Because I'm a big story and lore kind of guy, and you can pick up a lot of stuff on it. There was always implied that there was some kind of weird attraction, romance between Chandra and Nisa, which was people liked because it's representation of 2 women that like each other. But the writer just basically wrote that entire thing out in some very poorly written area that basically...
That was the excerpt I read, and it made it sound like a very bad romance novel.
Yes. Mm-hmm. Yeah, the little section where they're she's
attracted to brawny men.
And it was only a phase. No, it's plutonic. It's a lot of I think it's like, I understand.
Basically, it sounds like the writer was not comfortable writing a relationship like that and made some crap up.
How much of it is Wizards, though, too? Because there's an animated series from Magic coming out on Netflix that stars Chandra. Are they scared of that kind of thing on Netflix? I don't know.
I don't think so. They have plenty of things on Netflix that are very inclusive. I don't see Netflix having an issue with it.
But does Magic putting it out there have an issue? That's a good question, too. They might, and that's what we don't know, because these books have usually like a checklist of things that the person has to have. We don't know if this was on a checklist, or if this is just something that, well, the thing is, Magic could have just said, end their relationship. It might not have said how to end their relationship, and this could have just been Greg ending the relationship in a way that he thought was appropriate.
Right.
We don't have all the details. But it's a very awful book. It's bad. I wouldn't recommend watching it. If you want to, there's some people that have read it for review purposes. Check them out and listen to that. I watched... the only reason I wanted to bring this up, because it was such a controversy, and we do talk about a lot of awful things that, like, Wizards or Steve Jackson Games do. And I saw the Tolarian Academy, the professor, he did an entire review on it that was really good. And I recommend checking out his. Just because it talks about a lot of these bad points, and it gives a lot of good quotes on this book. But it's something that I wanted to bring up because our audience here is not always into the Fuel Magic things. We have a mixed audience. It's just general tabletop. But this is something that, when a company does something stupid like this, you gotta point it out to them. And this kind of bad book might kill Magic novels again. Which sucks, because
it also could kill their upcoming series, because if it's starring this character and they're doing stuff like that to this character, it might turn people off of watching the new series.
Yeah, that's the thing is, like, Magic fans, remember, you don't have that many in comparison to like other things. Like, there's definitely a lot of like when you talk about video game fans, the overall community is so large. When something bad happens, there's a large percentage of it that just forget that ever happens. Magic is a pretty popular game. There is a huge portion of the community that is very unhappy with them because of this. Like, I wasn't going to plan to buy any of these novels. I really am not planning on it now. It's sort of like, I might have if I had disposable income for it. Now, the answer is no. You lost me on, like, the possibility. If I was someone that had bought this and had spent money on this, I would ask for my money back. But, yeah, so...
Did I hear lasers?
Maybe?
Lasers!
Yep. Lasers.
Stop shooting lasers at your knees.
No. So, yeah.
Why don't we move on to some better D&D news?
Yeah.
Stuff that they're doing that is positive.
Yeah, Wizards news. Okay. Yeah, let's move on. Let's start with, I'll only show up one of these pictures. I'll do the kids book in it. So for Extra Life, the charity, raise supports for Children's Miracle Network, all that kind of stuff. Wizards has 2 adventures that they've come out with this year, just this past week, to help raise some money. Yay, charity! The D&D side of Wizards is always good like this. I like that they do this. And so we have Adventure with Muck. It's an activity book for players of all levels. You meet Muck, the bravest goblin, and his friend Bird Squirrel. Is it a bird or a squirrel? I'm not sure. Yes. As they make their way through Darkwood to search for treasure. Yay, treasure!
Yeah, you're in Dankwood.
Yeah. It's an activity book that includes adventure hooks, puzzles, the Dankwood Goblin character sheets, modified monster stat blocks, and each page can be colored, too. Yeah. And it's $5 for PDF that all the money goes to. All proceeds from this go to Extra Life.
Yeah, and it makes sense, it's for kids, and it's also, Extra Life's about, supporting children's hospitals and, doing days to sign up, like they have sign up today to dedicate a day of play with, for kids in your community. So it's very kid-oriented, charity. So it makes sense to have a kid adventure.
And at the same time, they also released Infernal Machine Rebuild, as they call it, which is a another PDF, but this is the Fallen Cloud. It's like something related to the Tomb of Horrors.
Yeah, I think I was just saying. I think this is referring back to something. The Infernal Machine of Lum the Mad.
Yeah. You explore 2 dungeon locations, including new monsters, magic items, and new artifact powers. Got new art, maps, a little cartoon, Adventure League, search for a new trinket, and again, the stuff goes to Extra Life. So it's like they have something for kids and something for adults, and that's pretty great. They kind of put these two out. This one's $10. So, I mean, I'm very happy to see that. And this is for 5 to 10 level characters. So
okay, so here's something really quick. So I looked up the Machine of Lum the Mad. Apparently, it goes all the way back to 1st edition, and they did a reprinted 2nd edition. It's an artifact that has several levers, dials. Combinations entered by the users had either very beneficial or absolutely disastrous effects to them. Advice: it can summon planar creatures. The machine could also wreak havoc on both users and those outside the contraption. Yeah, so it does, delve back into old D&D history.
Yep.
So it's kind of cool that they're harkening back to something too.
Well, there's also an interesting thing. I think we encountered something like that.
Sounds familiar, yeah.
It was the game where we all ended up with Lucian?
Oh.
Not Lucian. Damn it.
Rufus?
No. You've got a town named after him.
What?
You've got a town named after him in Grinding Gears. God damn it.
Fedor! Oh, Fedor, yeah.
When we went to Lantan.
Yes.
The center of the machine.
Yes.
It might have been based on... I think our GM based it on the Infernal Machine of Lum the Mad, or something similar to it.
Yeah.
It feels familiar that when you kind of talk about that like that. So, that's just... it came to mind that might be what it kind of relates to a little bit. So... Yeah.
It was located in Watcher's Keep originally, in the books.
Neat. So,
okay.
Those are interesting little ones.
Yeah, I thought it was interesting to dive in that for a second of the history of where that
Oh,
came
no,
from.
that's fine, because it's the Infernal Machine Rebuild. It's kind of neat to learn about it and hear about it a little bit.
But yeah, in this it looks like you're actually trying to rebuild the machine. I'm sure that'll go well.
So, let's talk about Starfinder, the Character Operations Manual. It's a hell of a name for something. But again, like, I guess the entire idea of, like, futuriness and sci-fi-ness, they're gonna stick with that, even though...
I mean, it makes sense.
I feel like Starfinder is an odd thing because it's science fantasy at its best, you know?
It's basically Space Jammer.
Yeah.
You know, it's a redoing of Space Jammer.
Spelljammer, but it's close enough.
Or Spelljammer.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
So, you know, the Starfinder galaxy, lots of planets, strange creatures, cultures, ancient traditions, and the entire idea of this is to add in some more options. It has 3 new classes: Biohacker, Vanguard, Witch Warper, one that alters biology, one that controls entropy, another that taps into alternate realities. Because reasons.
I'm a Witch Warper. Which Warper are you?
Additional options for all the races and classes in the core book, more feats, spells, and equipments, and they include shields, and I'm not sure if they mean, like, you know, like energy shields or like physical shields, because it could go either way.
It could be both.
Yeah.
It could be energy shields for your ship.
That's true. So, I mean...
more roles, crew actions, starship combat, and a system for downtime activities outside of battle.
Yeah,
I hope it wouldn't be downtime activities inside of battle.
It's like, I'm just going to relax. You guys keep fighting. I'm fine.
I'm going to sit over here, you know, and whittle while you fight that guy.
Mm-hmm.
Guys, 2 of our parties dropped. Can you stop whittling? Sorry, I'm almost done.
I'm using my downtime.
I just thought it's weird that they actually say downtime activities outside of battle. It's like, well, you don't have downtime inside of a battle.
If you don't specify it, someone will try to do it. I'm sorry. Out there, everyone has a little bit of munchkin in them, and if they don't hear about it, they're going to be like, I'm going to whittle in battle.
I think a good GM would say, no.
Yes. That is an accurate statement.
Not to mention, I think the rest of the party would be like, no. You can't sit here and whittle while we fight.
Now.
Or sure, go ahead and do that. While you're whittling, someone comes up behind you and slits your throat.
I was going to say, they could be trying to fix a blaster or something.
That's still not downtime, really, though.
Whittling isn't really, like, too much of a downtime. You're actually got an activity. I mean, okay. I wouldn't slit someone's throat for it. I would probably just punish them but not murder them. I mean, come on.
I was making a joke, dude.
I was
making an extreme joke.
Extreme jokes.
I wouldn't do that either. I might have someone attack them.
Mm-hmm. Snowboard jokes. Extreme jokes.
Basically, like, they'd have a bonus to attack them because they're not paying attention.
Yeah, but still. Well, they might also be like starship combat. You know, you're just doing downtime activities during starship combat because you can't do jack diddly. Which, I guess sometimes you might not be important during it. Like, you're the dock and no one's getting, like, hurt from explosions or something. And you're like, well...
You don't have any useful abilities outside of being a doctor?
Nope. Super specialized. Even
I think Bones would figure something to do out.
He'd probably catalog the stuff he have in the medical bay. No. It's Bones. He'd be hanging out on the bridge. How many times he has hanging out on the bridge? He's like, hey, Jim, how's it going? Fighting Romulans. We're fighting Romulans. Be careful, okay, Bones.
Crusher would find something to do.
She would basically be giving medical, like, there's so many people on the ship, there's battle going on, and she's still giving, like, you know, routine checkups to people in there, you know.
But she also went on to, you know, do some commander stuff, and she took command shifts and stuff, so she could be useful.
I'm not saying that, well, the Star Trek people are a bad excuse, because if you look at the Star Trek RPG, everybody has multiple trainings anyway. It's one of those things, is yes, you might specialize in science or medical or security, but you were trained in other stuff too along the way, Yes. So it's, yes, you could do that stuff. But, but like Starfinder, I don't know how much of our, it's because we've only played a little bit of it.
You could do some assisting, at least.
I'm sure there's something you could find to do, but, like, how useful you could actually be, that's a question that, like, you might end up with nothing to do. And then you have downtime while on the ship. That could be cataloging the medical bay. That's my downtime. I'm cataloging it. I'm still working on it while the ship's being fired upon.
Your medical bay explodes.
Well, now I can't catalog anything, and I can't repair it. I'm not an engineer.
Go find something to do.
Have some lunch. There you go. Like having lunch.
The cafeteria explodes.
Man, now I can't get lunch. And I can't save people when they're dead. They're, like, blown up. I'm not a miracle worker. They're dead, Jim!
Don't you know resurrection?
No! I'm a doctor, not a cleric. They're very dead, Jim. Who's Jim? Captain?
No, our captain's Bob.
That's fine. Fine, Bob. They're very dead. They exploded. I can't solve explosions. I'm gonna go to the recreation bay.
It explodes.
Jesus, how much of this ship is being destroyed? I'm not an engineer. You guys should be really fixing this.
Oh, and your quarters? They exploded.
Damn it! No. Fine, I'll hang out on the bridge. It's like, so, how's it going? Battle, eh? How we faring?
Behind you explodes.
There's been a lot of explosions on this ship. I think we're not doing too good. I think we're not doing too hot. Maybe you should fire some more weapons at that guy over there. He looks threatening. I mean, eventually, probably would. Yes.
Now that we've gone through the silly route.
Yeah. So
everyone imploding and exploding.
Yeah. The thing about this is it feels like they call it their like character operations manual. It feels like an advanced player's guide. Did they have an advanced player's guide for Starfinder before now that they called something else? I don't recall.
I'm not sure, but I mean, you can always have more than one advanced player's guide.
That's true.
It's like, oh, well, we came up with more options.
Yeah. Because they've had 3 alien archives. The Armory.
And I will say their PDFs are so worth it.
Yeah, for $10 for a PDF for the thing, they have a good price range for it.
Yeah, I mean, $40 for the hardcover. That's still not bad.
No.
But $10 for the PDF? If you're a person who mainly plays online...
Yeah.
It's like, I'll get the PDF and it's dirt cheap.
I'm just, rule book release date. I'm just curious when the core rulebook came out originally. That's something I'm going to ask now. So,
like 2016 or something?
2017.
Okay.
Now, this is a little odd because, granted, they're doing Starfinder a little differently, but for Pathfinder, from what we've seen, it's about a half a year to a year before the Advanced Player's Guide came out. And I did look up this. The original Advanced Player's Guide came out, like, most of a year after the original Player's Guide. Like it's going to be doing for Pathfinder 2nd Edition. This is over 2 years separated for their advanced players. Granted, maybe like because the nature of space and star going stuff, they had a lot of other stuff they wanted to put out first.
Yeah. Well, I think it's that, and also the fact that they've also were working on 2nd Edition during this time.
I'm sorry. That's not an excuse. They've put out 3 alien archives in the meantime, which is their monster manuals. They have 3 of those. Granted, in a game like this, I can understand there being a lot more variety in, like, enemies, because there's a lot more different planets and stuff. It's a lot different than, I'm in Pathfinder on Galarian. There's only X number of creatures that live here or could invade from the plains.
Right. I'm just saying that could be part of it, too, is, you know, and also creating a balanced monster, I think, for them is easier than creating balanced new classes.
Oh, I'll agree on that one. Yeah. Monsters and figuring out, like, what their CR would be effectively, you just roll and test it out for a long time. You know, you test it against a number of circumstances and team combinations to get really good, in which they might have all those developed for use, you know, for testing it out. Itch. Stupid itch on my back.
So that's what I'm saying, is that might be also part of it. They're able to pump out the monsters quickly, but when it comes to popping out new classes and stuff, they take their time more, because you don't want to, put it to print and then find out, hey, these really don't work or aren't really balanced well with the other classes.
And the thing is, like, because they're going very different routes in the classes than something like you would have in Pathfinder. I'm sorry, what do we have here? Biohacker. Alters biology. Yeah. The Vanguard, which might be the one that controls entropy, I'm not sure.
I think so. I think it goes in order.
And then the Witch Warper, who taps into alternate realities. I mean, these sound like crazy abilities. They're very interesting, and I'm wondering how they express them in the game, but they sound interesting.
Yeah. No, I think they're interesting classes to do. It's probably a little overdue. Overdue for it to come out, but that happens sometimes.
Yeah. So, and then the last thing to talk about today, though, if we want to move on to that last one before we do our regular segments, is the Fall of London. So this is a 5th edition Vampire the Masquerade book. Let me just throw up the image here. That should take a second. There we go. Nice right there. I mean, it's a chronicle for Vampire the Masquerade. So that's the thing is, it is a full adventure that they have a writing for, the Fall of London.
Right.
And I don't remember a lot of actually written chronicles for the older World of Darknesses. I think there were a few, but they were few and far between. That you'd get an actual, like, written down, like, you could get some stories, like some simple stories or something, or story connections, but a full, like, chronicle, which, if you're unfamiliar with the terms, think of, like, the difference between an adventure and a campaign in Dungeons & Dragons or Pathfinder. An adventure is still going to be long, it's going to involve some level ups, but it's one set story. The campaign is all these stories set together that might be over the entire time. A chronicle is more or less like a campaign. So that's kind of an interesting thing that they're coming out with here. And I've learned a few things about 5th edition Vampire which are very interesting, that I think are weird turns they've taken with 5th edition. Like, I did use it to a degree, but like the Second Inquisition that they introduced. And it kind of makes sense. The idea of the Second Inquisition is because it's a information world that, through chance, people like in the NSA found out about vampires. And then worked together, and they've been working together with the Catholic Church, who's always had their secret organizations hunting vampires, to now be better effective at hunting vampires. So, like, there's a new threat of, like, humanity in the, while still trying to actually hide yourself. And, there are people that know, but not, like, there are people that also work for this organization that don't know anything because they're also smart enough not to reveal it to the general public, kind of thing,
Right.
So, it's an interesting kind of juxtaposition on all of this. And But it's stuff like that there's very strange writing that I don't know if I can call it good or interest or bad stuff in the storyline as it is. Logically, kind of makes sense, and so I'm curious as to how the Fall of London, what the direction goes in this book, because we don't know a lot about it. We know that this is going to be a big thing that they're putting out here, as like their next book, Modiphius is.
But what does this all mean? Is a good question. Are we going to see? Because Modiphius is better at putting together these little adventures, like the Star Trek adventures. They provide. They provide what? Like those books of missions? Because it's kind of hard to write a full Star Trek campaign. They're not normal. Star Trek, if we're looking at traditional Star Trek, it's very episodic. It's not overarching storyline. There's sometimes some arc storyline, but there's always those, episodes that might be related to it kind of partially.
Yeah. Classic Star Trek is more episodic. Next Gen did have some overarching plots here and there. Like, you could say the entire Q thing kind of was overarching.
Yeah. And then,
DS9 definitely had an overarching plot.
But they still were very episodic. Like, each episode was separate, but it might, things might change.
A lot of them built... into the later seasons, everything was building on top of each other.
Yeah.
They were still episodic, but things things did build on.
Yeah, things mattered. And I think that was something
Voyager, I think, was supposed to be more overarching.
But it became a little bit more episodic.
They did more episodic, which I think that was the one thing that kind of hurt Voyager, was they had a chance to really do something different.
Yeah.
And instead, they still somehow, at the end of every episode, even though there was, no backup in alien territory, their ship was always back to pristine by the end of the episode.
Yeah, well, or at least they're putting it back to pristine. Like, by the next episode, they've managed to repair it. Granted, Voyager's weird because there's, weird time skips a lot of times. It's...
Well, space is big, and there's going to be times you're not near anything, and nothing really interesting happens.
Yeah. So there's a lot of things about, the Star Trek thing. But getting back to that, then, we haven't seen... We know that Modiphius is good at that kind of thing, though. That they can put out either storylines or episodic stuff that would be helpful. I'm not going to bust them on that. So this is probably very well written. But... is this a big change that we're seeing with 5th edition, that we're going to see more of these campaigns and or chronicles and stories that were being put out that people can play with? Because this was a lot of times, it was always a lot of books that added to the lore. There are so many books from the original couple of editions to V20 to even now that dive into the lore of Vampire and alter it and develop it, and the lore is really rich and heavy.
Yeah. But that is true. That's the one thing when it came to any of the World of Darkness stuff, was there weren't really a lot of pre-made adventures for it.
Yeah.
They gave you a lot of lore, they gave you information in that realm, but it was always... the campaigns were pretty much just whatever the GM decided to do.
Yeah.
So I think it's actually could be an interesting way of trying new things out and making it easier for people to get into it who's used to having some kind of guidelines for adventures.
Yeah.
So I think it could be a good thing.
No, I agree. I think it sounds like it hopefully will be a good thing. I'm definitely would... It's one of those things. It's definitely, I think, a good thing, and I would want to see more of it. But I'm curious as to, how it's going to be written, definitely.
Yeah.
I definitely would want to actually, ooh, there it goes, whatever.
It's something to talk to Modiphius about at the convention if we can.
That's true. Getting a chance to sit down with them and discuss with them this kind of thing would be an interesting thing. To get some information on what they're doing with this and how they're developing it. I definitely agree. I would like to the chance to chat with them about it. But
Yeah.
I just love that sometimes when I'm going through Firefox for the show, I end up in places that just eat up my memory randomly. I don't know why. And I just got rid of it because we're getting a slowdown there.
Because it hates you.
Because Firefox or Chrome both hate me. Both do.
You can always use Edge.
No. Internet Explorer.
Hey, it's better than Edge.
Is it?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Because Edge is a light browser, so it can't do as much.
Booze money.
No
Well.
booze money for you.
Why don't we move on to our regular segments now? Because we kind of hit on our major topics here. And we have a couple regular segments we do on the show. First off is our deeper discussion, which if we have a game to review, we review it for you. We'll probably have some games to review post-PAX Unplug. But until then, no, we don't. So let's hit Kickstarter Korner, though, which is we each choose one or a few Kickstarters, and we tell you about them and let you know that you should be interested in them and check them out. And Joe and I each have one, I believe, this week. So, Joe, why don't you go first, though?
Okay, so I believe one of the contacts we made from PAX Unplugged last year emailed us about this one. It's Calliope Games are coming up with, just started a Kickstarter called Station Master. So it's a new game. It's basically you are running a train station. It's 30 to 50 minutes, ages 8 plus, 2 to 6 players. They still have 26 days to go. They're already at $4,888 out of a $10,000 goal. So they're doing very well. And let's see, that's retail. For a base pledge of $25, you get a copy of the game. So it's not a very expensive to get the base. To just get the base game. Should be coming out in May of next year. And then they have higher levels. Basically, you have a station that will start. It'll have number of locomotives equal to the number of players out. You build onto the locomotives, and either there's positive or negative numbers for different cars that you attach. And you put, then there's 36 wooden passenger pawns, which also is goods as well. Perfume teacup, book, boot, case, top hat, and then executive class game comes with additional things.
Can you throw that link in chat?
Oh, I'm so sorry. Yeah,
That's okay.
I normally do that, and I spaced.
That's fine.
Bam. There's 6 special cards which are called depot cards. Depot cards are a one-time use during the game that you can score a train early. Normally a train gets 5 cars attached to it before it scores. So you can be like, I score this one early by playing a depot card. But it's a one-time use. So, its highest points end up winning. Trying to remember how the game ends. I watched the video on it earlier this week. Second, how to play. Oh, they even have an official app for scoring, which is nice. Oh, and they have a link to the full rules, too. Okay, let me see. Set up. Card, special trains. Okay, end of the day. The game ends when the locomotive deck is empty. That's what it is. And all the trains have left the station. After the last train is scored, the player with the highest efficiency score is the winner. If there's a tie, the tie player with the single largest scoring train wins.
Okay.
Possible that all train master cards in the deck will be drawn. If this happens, don't reshuffle the deck. Instead, all players must continue to play with cards they have in their hands. You must continue to play the turn even if you don't want to. However, if you have no lead to play, you can pass. So it seems like a really interesting game. I definitely would love to try this one out.
Yeah.
And for a $25 pledge, that's not bad.
No, not at all.
Standard. They do have, higher levels, of course, which you get like the executive class edition, which has more extra components and stuff. You get round trip, which you get a standard edition and a executive class one too for $55. So for 25 or 30, I'd spend the extra $5 and might as well get the executive.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's not a big difference.
Yeah. And they're about 50% funded with 26 days to go. So not bad.
Yeah.
Good one to keep an eye on.
And shipping within the U.S. is only an extra $6.
Not bad. Well, cool. So that's one to definitely keep an eye on. Now, the one I'm going to talk about today is actually related to kind of what we talked about. It's a Vampire the Masquerade board game? The thing is,
by Mega Board Games.
Well, it is a mega board game because it's 4 to 32 players. So it's sort of like,
You know what it makes me think of?
Werewolf.
Well, I was thinking it almost makes me think of one of those D&D board games.
Oh.
Adventure games.
Oh, adventure games.
You know what I'm talking about? Like the one, like a couple of the ones I have.
Yeah.
That you can actually play levels and.
There's a lot.
Basically,
this is a very interesting game because I feel like it meets a lot of genres in the middle, I'd say. So it's funded with 10 days to go. As I said, it's 4 to 32 players. That's the maximum. 2 hours to play. The idea is that you are in New York City 2016. You're trying to get control of the city. You have to take charge, get rid of your enemies, negotiate with your, in quotations, allies, and take hold of your ambitions. You're in the Vampire the Masquerade universe, but you're not necessarily a vampire. You could also be a human. It depends on what you get. The retail game copy is $99 because it's going to retail for $135. It's expensive. But the thing is, there's 9 game boards, 64 character IDs, 91 order cards, 92 advancement cards, 42 advancement and event cards, the 20 domain tiles, colored bases, 64 miniatures, a whole lot of tokens, etc., etc. And there's also a deluxe edition which has a playmat. And there's a whole bunch of like special 3D miniatures and metal tokens, and that's the Kickstarter exclusive for $150. Now the thing is, they do say it is going to be $135 when it finally comes out at the MSRP. So you get it for $100 now. They do have a limited edition 140 early bird deluxe edition, which are still a few of them are still left, not many. Or you can get $150 for the deluxe edition with all the other
left.
Mm-hmm. Plus, they also have a collector's edition, which, yeah, for $190. God, which they have like an art prints and a 3D bust,
and a 5-inch extra large miniature of Nosferatu clan.
Yeah, the 3D bust. Yeah, it's kind of crazy.
But I like I said, I think it's almost basically like one of those D&D games where you're kind of playing a light version of the role-playing game.
Well, I think it's more than that because I feel like it is that because of the number of players. I feel like it's a combination of that and, as I said, like Werewolf.
Yeah, you can do it. It says you can do up to 6 teams, so you can have different teams going at it too.
Yeah, because that's the idea, is that it's that you have 6 teams that you're working together in the teams to make decisions and stuff and doing things like that. So they've got some unlocks that they can still do, some more cards, thicker retail box, things like that they have all hopefully estimated out pretty well. Up to the 120,000. Beyond that, it's unknown.
And they have a story mode.
Yeah.
So with that, it makes it to an light RPG.
Yeah, so there's a lot of cool elements to it. Granted, the shipping is expensive. They do mention the shipping. It's, if you're in the US, $15 to $20, $20 to $24 in Canada, $20 to $26 in Europe, or and then 25 plus for Asia, the rest of the world. But again, it's the kind of box I'm imagining into it is going to be one of the, because again, the fact they say 64 miniatures is going to be one of those big box games.
Yeah.
So it's crazy. It's got 10 days to go. I don't know how many of its stretch goals it's going to hit in those 10 days. I'd say it's kind of up in the air, but it's definitely an interesting one to check out. And I like the idea of having a 32-player game. It's insane. I don't know how you would manage that kind of thing. I'm guessing because it is like the 6 teams, that it would be you couldn't do even teams with 6. You could do 4 teams of 8. But 6 would be like, 6 teams of 6 would be 36. So, I mean, you're 4 less than that. I don't know. You have 4 teams of 5 and 2 of 6?
I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe there are certain teams that have maximum number of players to them, and that's what keeps it down or something. We'd have to see the rules about getting up towards those 32, but minimum 4. You know it's a crazy game when it's got minimum 4 players. But it's an interesting little... No.
We'll have to keep a lookout to see if this company might... it's
White Wolf and Everything Epic does it. They call it a mega. It's not Mega Board Game as the company. They call it a mega board game.
I messed up when I looked.
Well, you can see the little thing right there. Yeah, that little.
Yeah, symbol. I just saw that. White Wolf. But yeah, so we might want to keep an eye out for that if they might have anything.
Yeah, and it's the company's Everything Epic apparently is the ones that did it. So good for them. Yeah.
So I'll have to keep an eye out, see if they have anything there on it.
Yes, definitely. So, that is our Kickstarters for the day. As there's noise in the background.
Yes. Alarm! Alarm! Something is alarming.
Fire! It's the fire signal.
I know.
So,
I was just making a joke.
I guess let's move on to our week in tabletop. What we did this week for tabletop. We're grinding gears. You want to talk about that first while I mute me for a second with this background noise?
Sure. So, they had their first actual fight and kicked complete butt.
Me and Blaze murdered the shit out of everything. Not that Tiv didn't help too. Tiv did stuff too.
Tiv did a decent job as well. But yeah, they very, very, very murder happy killed all my monsters without getting hurt at all.
Oh no! Didn't the other side get? No, they missed them. They had chances to attack them and missed them. That's right.
Yeah. So yeah, that happened.
Dart into something's forehead too for so much damage. I'm like, I'm just gonna chuck a dart at it. This probably won't work. Thunk!
Yeah, you guys rolled amazing, and I kept rolling crap for them too.
Mm-hmm.
I kept rolling solo to hit any of you guys.
Yep.
It's like, oh, they're so ineffective.
It's like, well, they're not hitting.
Then you guys wanted to investigate the mayor's house, which you guys were stopped. because the mayor does not want just let anyone into his inner sanctum.
I mean, like, I'm pretty sure I'd be very respectful of that idea that he wants no one in there, but
Yes.
we have the gnome who wants to do everything and just does it. And then we got into a huge argument of intelligence versus wisdom.
Yes, and it was basically, it's like gnome curiosity, and very, very forceful, but they have learned that there is going to be a mission for them to do, which they will get paid in knowledge.
We knowledge.
But it has to wait till after the festival,
Aww.
which is going to be happening soon.
Yeah.
Maybe like next time we play. Maybe.
Most likely.
Most likely. But, and then I had Legacies of Kain and, Records of Evil. Records of Evil, they actually started trying to build a cult. They're not good at it, but they tried. They got theoretically one cult member who seems a little sociopathic? Yeah.
Okay, then.
No. Yeah, sociopathic because he's not... There's the one that you're like...
They're psychopath and sociopath.
So he's sociopathic, yes. Whether or not he's an actual psychopath or not, they haven't found out. But he's a sociopath, it seems. He's kind of a little odd, but he wants to join the cult. Plus, they now have a mission. They're going to go infiltrate their old cult headquarters, the ruins of it, which has turned into an archaeological site thanks to them, in hopes of basically stealing some magic items. Because they're like, how can we convince people to join the cult? Through magic or something. And so they know, like, oh, there's supposed to be these items which can summon some devils. We might be able to get a couple of devils on our side. That might be a show of force. Or something of the similar. So that's what they're planning on doing. It'll be interesting. That we're going to go for kind of like 2,000-year-old dungeon crawl. And then we did have Legacies of Kain, which they got the gorilla. Surprisingly. So they had botched when they started planning out this entire thing. And so I decided the botch would be the night that they tried to do this, there was going to be a PETA demonstration. And in amongst the PETA demonstration were some extremists. Like violent extremists. So the zoo went to shit while they were in it. But they managed to get out all right. Somehow. And Dawn got a lifetime pass to the place because she was not involved with the gorilla stealing. She was with the hired goons in the aquarium and helped the guards fend off the protesters / violent people who were going to liberate the fish into the local river.
Okay, then.
It would probably have killed most of the fish because they're probably saltwater. But they're crazies. And liberate the animals. But no, she helped defend the place and saved like a lot of the fish and stuff. So yeah, her and the thugs hung out and got lifetime passes to the zoo, and we're really happy about that. So she made friends with the thugs. Everybody had a good time. And Nathan like knocked out 2 police officers by sneaking up behind them and like doing like chokeholds on them. God. Good times. Yep. So, it went a lot better than I thought it was going to with what I put them in front of them. They rolled well. And I think that's... and we didn't do anything on Saturday because I kind of was busy with some stuff and
And we didn't really get anyone else.
Yeah, so it was like not inspired to when I'm getting there after everything was said and done, I was not inspired to take the extra time at that point in time because it would have been a little late. Anyway, I think when I finally would have been able to get myself around.
Right.
But, happens. But so our last normal segment is Consult the Table. So if you out there have any questions for us at any times, whether or not it relates to tabletop or not, if it's just some kind of question you want to ask us, and it seems to relate to the random crap we talk about at all times, which is pop culture and tabletop, we'll answer it. Whether or not it's answered on the show here or not depends on the nature of the question. Something we can simple answer, we'll just do it there. You can always throw it into the chat here. You can throw it into the description when this video goes up on YouTube. You can message us both on Discord, which you can use the link to my Discord server down below, where you can message both of us from there, or put it in the Discord server itself. Both are fine. You can email us at discussingtabletop@yahoo.com. You can hit us up at Twitter, which our ats are below our names here. For me and Joe, you can just either message us directly or just, add us, either or. So lots of ways to reach us with questions about various things. So, yeah, I think that's it for today. It was an interesting amount of stuff to talk about today. Ups and downs. Ups and downs. But anyway, hope you have a great rest of your Saturday. Should be doing Sundays at Tabletop tomorrow. It's been a few weeks since we did it. Just with grinding gears and some of the stuff that's been going on in between there, it's been kind of hard to get that organized and stuff. So hopefully we're getting it back. I don't know how regular it is because it depends on if I want to organize it before grinding gears. Not this weekend, but the next one. I might not feel like that either. But anyway, yeah. And other than that, the 2 normal game schedule, Records and Legacies, and as I've announced on both the Discord and Twitter and talked about, Madness is done for now. It'll probably come back in some form in a different future. Same adventure-ish, same world at least. Maybe a different adventure completely, but with the same world. Different writing, different way of doing it. I'll plan on that for some time. But for now, we do have a Magic meets D&D game that's going to be happening, which hopefully we'll starting up within the month, called, from Dominaria, Children of Wrath. That's the title of it. So, expect to hear more on that when I can finally get everything organized. So, but, yeah. You have anything else to shout out then, Joe?
Nope, that's it. See everyone. Have a great weekend, and see some tabletop tomorrow night.
Yes. And see you next week. We should be on schedule for next week. And anyway,
Yes.
Well, bye everyone.
Bye.